welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel for today, Saturday, the 2nd of September. Today, going to have a wee chat about the last day or two of the transfer window, brief recap of all the players who have come in and left Celtic over the last couple of months of this transfer window, then quick chat through the Champions League fixtures, which have now been announced, and finishing off with a preview of tomorrow's Celtic Rangers match at Ibrox. Before we get going, please like and subscribe if you can. Let's try and get my subscriber numbers up to 100. It does help with channel advertising, channel ranking, analytics, and does help my videos get seen by a wider audience, hopefully some of whom will choose to be subscribers as well, and little by little I can take on the world. So yesterday's transfer window deadline day was rather quiet for Celtic. We made one signing, the loan signing of Paulo Bernardo from Benfica. This is a one-year loan with a view to purchase at the end of the season, very much like the same deal we had with Benfica 2 years ago for Jota. Hasn't been stated at this point, to the best of my knowledge, what the sell-on fee percentage is going to be and what the purchase price at the end of the deal is going to be. But don't think Celtic would have gone into this deal had it not been a reasonable purchase price, probably around the same kind of level as for Jota, with probably a similar sell-on fee percentage as for Jota. However, that may well come out with time. I think Paulo Bernardo is going to be a very good player for Celtic. I think he is a highly touted player with a lot of potential. Don't think Benfica would have signed him with such a long contract and with a €100 million sell-on fee had they not thought he was going to be a great player. It does appear, however, that he's not in Benfica's first team plans now, and so they were looking to move him on, and I think Celtic is a great place for him to develop and become a potential star. He covers all the midfield roles, but is primarily an attacking midfielder, and I think provides us cover for the Aaron Moy role that we have lost with him retiring during the summer. Nat Phillips came to us on loan for Liverpool. That's going to be for the period up till the January transfer window. I think he is going to be excellent cover for CCV and Navroki as they recover over the next couple of months, hopefully from their hamstring injuries. I think there's always going to be some concern when CCV does come back to match fitness in a couple of months' time, given that it was a short period between him finishing rehab for his knee before he developed another injury. Might well be that Celtic could explore extending the loan for Nat Phillips to cover the period from January through to the end of the season in May-June 2024. I think Phillips is good enough to go in and start tomorrow against Rangers, although Brendan Rodgers was suggesting he wasn't looking to start either Bernardo, Palma or Phillips in the Rangers fixture. But I would have no qualms about him starting, given the fact that he's played it for Liverpool, the highest level, played derbies and big games against all the English clubs covering at Liverpool. Lewis Palma, I think, is, again, a great player currently and will go on to get better and better. I think he is a pretty good replacement for Jota, has the potential even to be better than Jota. Scores goals, creates goals, able to get to the byline, able to break into the box, able to shoot from distance, and also has a high success rate with direct free kick goals. And so I think all these are things that Celtic could very well use successfully in Scotland and in Europe. The earlier transfer window signings, Tomoki Iwata, Yang, Kwon, and Tilio, I think are all more players that are prospects for development. Tomoki Iwata, I think, is very much worthwhile persisting with, in that he covers right back, centre back, and defensive midfield. And so I think he's going to be a good squad utility player for Celtic. Yang, I think, has shown a lot of promise in the few substitute appearances and his start last weekend against St Johnstone. Kwon has not had much of a chance to really show his abilities yet, but I think he and Kobayashi are both young players who may well be struggling to adapt to Scottish way of life and being away from home, learning a new language, etc. And so I think we can easily give them a couple of years to develop into the players that the scouting reports are suggesting that they are. Tilio obviously has been injured his whole time at Celtic, but comes with a great reputation from Australian football and playing for Australia. And so we may well see, once he's back into full training, which should be after the international break, and starting to play for Celtic, probably coming off the bench, we'll see how good a player he is. And I would hope that over the months he gets better and better as he fits into the Celtic way of life. Lagerbielke and Nawrocki are obviously both players who can start straight away, as has been the case for them. So looking at the whole transfer window of players coming in, I think I would give Celtic a B+. I think we've got several starters, and we've got several squad players, and we've got a couple of players who may well develop into great players for Celtic. We lost Jota and Starfelt to significant transfer fees. I don't think there's anything really Celtic could have done to stop Starfelt going off to Celta Vigo. I think, like any normal person, Carol Starfelt deserves to have a private life and a personal life, and none of us would think anything about moving job, moving house, moving where we live to stay with our partner. And so I don't think we should blame Celtic or blame Carstyle for it. I think they did the normal human being type decision of going to be with their partner. So the Jota transfer was unavoidable. I don't think Celtic could afford to turn down 25 million. And I've also actually been very happy that Celtic have used a lot of that money rather than buying players to secure the longer term contracts for McGregor, Kyogo, Maeda, Leila Bada, who signed a 4-year extension yesterday. And I would be fully expecting, after this transfer window has now shut and that Hattasi and O'Reilly are both with us, that Celtic reward their loyalty and secure them for another few extra years at higher salary. In essence, these extensions of contracts are almost like signing new players. We happily have got off the budget Albion Yeti, who went off to Gaziantep in Turkey for £500,000, a £4 million loss on the deal from his transfer. And also Ismail Soro went off to Beitar Jerusalem for an undisclosed fee. We still have, it would appear, James McCarthy on the books, and he is the only one of the players who's not in Rodgers' squad who still is at the club. He was unwilling to have a termination of contract, and so may well be at Celtic for a little bit longer. Although it wouldn't be unexpected if he now does take the termination contract and then can work as a free agent to find another club. We also got off the budget earlier in the transfer window. Vasilis Barkas, who went off to Utrecht, Urigidi, who went off to France, and we had several of our younger players, such as Montgomery, Lawwell, and Summers, and McPherson, all of whom have gone off on loan deals, and I think that's also good for Celtic's future. As I said earlier, we've managed to extend the contract of a few of our star players. We've retained Vata, Hattati, and O'Reilly in this transfer window, unless there's an unexpected bid from Saudi Arabia, who still have another 7 days or so in their transfer window. And so overall, I think this has been a good transfer window for Celtic, all things considered. And a B plus would be a reasonable grading. I think also we must bear in mind that, as Brendan Rodgers actually said in a press conference yesterday, although Celtic is a club with great history, great prestige, we are operating in the Scottish League with rather limited TV money, and the Scottish League itself is relatively low in prestige in terms of world and European football. Thus, the type of player that we can attract isn't going to be the 20, 30, 40, 50 million pound player, and I think the kind of player that we can attract is the 10 million and under, who's looking for 20, 30,000 pounds a week at the maximum. Otherwise, I think Celtic would be bankrupting themselves, as has been the case for far too many football clubs. And I think Celtic should be praised in the boardroom and finance departments and scouting departments for being realistic as to who our targets are. Gone are the days of us signing big name players for big monies, such as Sutton and Hartson back in the early 2000s. Now, moving on to the Champions League fixtures, which have been confirmed now. We will be starting with an away game against Feyenoord in Rotterdam. That's going to be on the 19th of September. That's followed by home game against Lazio, then a home game against Atletico Madrid, then the away game against Atletico Madrid, away game against Lazio, finishing off with a home game against Feyenoord on the 13th of December. I think these fixtures have actually fallen well for Celtic. We have the potential to go to Feyenoord and get a draw. We then have our game against Lazio at home. It's game number 2. Now, Lazio have started the season in Italy very poorly. They're currently in the bottom 3, haven't won this season, and may well be, if all goes to plan, to be a team there for the picking, with a good chance of Celtic on their day beating Lazio at Celtic Park. And after all, we did beat them home and away a few seasons ago. The games against Atletico Madrid, home and away, may be much more difficult to get any points out of. However, a good performance, as we have had in the past, such as against Barcelona, where we beat them at Celtic Park, is a possibility, especially if it's a cold, wet, rainy, sleety night and the Celtic Park crowd supports Celtic as well as they always do. Finishing off against Feyenoord at Celtic Park might be one of these games where it's a winner takes all with regards to getting third place, with an outside chance, if Lazio don't regain form, of getting second place in that match. So, good start, get some momentum up, maybe a point away at Feyenoord, beat an under par Lazio at Celtic Park in the second match, hold on against Madrid, home and away, see what we can get from Lazio away. And then it may be that the final game of the 6th in mid-December, we know that we need to win against Feyenoord or draw against Feyenoord to get third or second place. Some people may think this is overly optimistic, but I do think if Rodgers and the team can all get on the same page, that if Rodgers can get the motivation and energy levels and pace levels up of the players and their passing and moving and interlinking, I think Celtic do have the prospect of coming third, with the possibility even of second place in this group, and having the European football after Christmas again. Finally, having a chat about tomorrow's game against Rangers. A lot of people are doom and gloom about the game against Rangers tomorrow. However, I think Rangers are there for the taking. I think they're still working out how to incorporate all their various signings. A lot of their signings were actually bargain basement and free transfers and free agent players. None of their transfer fees were particularly good. The record of their strikers they brought in isn't that prolific in comparison to the number of goals that Luis Palma scored in Greek football, or the number of goals that Kyogo has scored for Celtic over the last couple of seasons. And so I think Celtic do actually have, player for player, a better team and a better squad than Rangers. And I think we also have a much better manager than Rangers. Rangers will have the home advantage, which may well guarantee them a penalty, as it virtually always seems to do at Ibrox. And so a good refereeing performance and a good performance by VAR may well be important. We don't want another Connor Goldson diving punch over the bar for controversy. And at least this time it's not John Beaton who's refereeing, having been in the Rangers bar beforehand. Now, I think Celtic, if they do play with aggression, play with pace, and interlink as well as they can do, use their wide players cutting in, pushing Kyogo further forward, and bringing forward the midfield to support him, bring in the wide players to support him, I think we can beat Rangers tomorrow. Although in the end, I think I'll predict a draw of 2-2. But I think Celtic do have the potential to win tomorrow, and at worst a draw. In terms of lineup, I would go with Hart, Johnston, Phillips, Lagerbielke, Taylor, and then in midfield, Home, Hatate, Home, if only we could have Hatate, Home, McGregor and O'Reilly, and Abada, who has often had good games against Rangers, particularly coming in off his wing to score. Kyogo in the middle, and I would start Luis Palma on the left. I think he, much the same as Maeda has done, will trouble Tavernier, who is a rather suspect defender. I think the pace and cleverness of Kyogo in the middle will be too much for Suter and Goldson. And I think Abada down the left, be it against Barisic, who may or may not be fit, or whomever Rangers play at left back, again, I think they will cause them a lot of problems if they play the way they can. Midfield may well be a bit more of a battle. We need to be careful with Cantwell, who seems to have an amazing ability for diving to get free kicks, yellow, and other players yellow carded and red carded. But I don't honestly think that Rangers' front three are going to be that much of a threat if Johnston, Phillips, and Lagerbielke and Taylor get their act together. The good thing also is that Celtic should have a couple of impact players to come off the bench, such as Paulo Bernardo, and Yang, and Turnbull can often be good coming off the bench as well. And we may well use someone like Liam Scales on the bench also, as he does cover central defence and left side of defence. So that just about finishes things off for today. My plan would be to do a post Rangers match reaction an hour or two after the fixture, and also at that time we'll update on the women's team as they have an important game against Hibs, which should be live on BBC Alba, and then they're off to the Women's Champions League qualifier mini tournament in Norway next midweek. So thanks for listening today. Thanks for watching today. Please like and subscribe. Please have a wee go at the quiz question in the community section. So for now, goodbye and good luck Celtic tomorrow, and hail hail.
Yeah.